Mental beauty is meant to elicit a new way of thinking, living, and breathing. Mental beauty is meant to equalize the weight of physical and mental well-being. Mental beauty is meant to accept your whole self and others, regardless of ailment, compromise, or imperfection. Mental beauty is meant to be recognized and redefined as a do-over in thoughts, mindsets, perceptions, and future insights. So embrace it, embody it, become it, and own it boldly. And at the same time, your expression of it sparks curiosity and becomes someone else's learning, inspiration, motivation, empowerment, and hope. There are numerous interpretations of mental beauty as you give yourself permission to make it yours as you see fit. And no matter the perspective, with the openness of this invitational phrase of the mental beauty rethink, there is no right or wrong, good or bad, and absolutely zero judgment. Mental beauty allows you a new and clear lens to see mental well-being in the absence of stigma. Mental beauty becomes a much more invitational approach to break down barriers of mental stigma. Mental beauty is enveloped with full unconditional acceptance of yourself and of others. Mental beauty has the bountiful capacity to normalize mental well-being. When you embrace the mental beauty rethink concept, you automatically ignite that positive shift towards breaking down barriers of mental stigma. The collective richness of what this phrase has to offer is beneficial to all individuals, no matter what walk of life you come from or live in, all due to its shield against any form of negative connotation associations, while redefining what overall mental health is truly all about. Through the embodiment of the mental beauty rethink, each of you out there provide an opportunity to every individual in your community to be seen in equal light to physical health, which in turn achieves the endless possibilities for creating emotionally safe spaces for all to be in, while we fully immerse in self-healing, self-discovery, and self-fulfillment. I encourage each one of you out there to claim the mindset of the mental beauty rethink as your default way to view your world. Let this be a vow to each and every single one of us that we strive to make each of our communities globally open to emotional risk-taking, vulnerability, authenticity, unleashing, redefining, and continued storytelling. So, let's break that silence and tap into mental beauty. This is Salima Jadafji, your podcast host, a practicing social worker, and your mental wellness connoisseur. I am tremendously passionate and optimistic regarding all things mental health, with over 2 decades of experience in mental health across diverse sectors, including community services, private organizations, healthcare, and education. In my thriving private practice, as a specialist in transformational processes and trauma-informed practices, I lead as an expert in the mental health field, helping individuals navigate the complexities of anxiety, depression, perfectionism, grief, workplace and situational stressors, sleep disorders, among other challenges. Together, we navigate complexities using my deep understanding and professional skill set to empower my clients to regain control and thrive. My approach is deeply compassionate and committed, rooted in my life's purpose to serve and facilitate your journey towards healing and empowerment. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show as we step into a direction that allows us to dive deeper into mental beauty. Episode 103 of the Dare to Share Your Untold Story podcast, Mental Beauty segments. Today, we are focusing on taking charge of your mental health and owning your parts. I'm thrilled to have all of you here as we continue our journey together. For those who are new to the podcast, a warm welcome from your self-care pro and mental wellness connoisseur. You're joining a community committed to breaking down the barriers of mental stigma and embracing the concept of mental beauty, a term which I have coined to intentionally invite each of you to embrace the nuances of what mental health is all about, while taking an approach that allows each of you to normalize, prioritize, equalize, and embody an invitational means of seeing and accepting mental well-being, and of course, without judgment. I'm excited to continue our journey together. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast. Together, we can break down stigma and promote the mental beauty rethink to its highest level. Thank you for being here, and let's get started. As we get started, please remember the insights shared in this podcast are intended to enlighten and entertain, not to replace professional medical advice. If you have any concerns or need guidance, please seek help from your healthcare providers. Take gentle care of yourself and know that support is always available. Today, we are diving into an incredibly important topic: taking charge of your mental health and owning all parts of yourself. The discussion is inspired by episode 77, titled The Entrepreneurship Struggle: Unspoken Hardships, Refined and Transformed, featuring Fung. Ethan's journey is a powerful example of perseverance, transformation, and breaking free from limiting patterns. His story, which he frames as becoming the generation of change, shows how empathy for his past turned fear into faith. It's about embracing authenticity, no matter how different it may be. Ethan's open sharing serves as a permission slip for all of us to expose our struggles and admit our vulnerabilities. As he beautifully puts it, this is not a blemish, it's a beauty. Now let's listen to some powerful insights from Ethan's journey. Ethan, what comes to mind first when you hear this phrase, the mental beauty rethink?
Mental beauty rethink. I think for me, being able to kind of expose mental health, not in the way that we have in the past, with a lot of stigma and, just this mentality of just pushing forward and just doing better and trying a little harder, right? And just like not kind of disclosing to one another that, hey, like I am struggling, I am suffering, right? And I think being able to kind of go into that rethink and show that, hey, like I am vulnerable, this is a struggle, but I accept that, right? Because I think like in the past we would just shove it aside. Whereas now, like being able to have an opportunity to share, this is who I am and this is what I'm going through and this is me, just allows, one, for myself to just be more confident and be more, accepting of myself, but to really be that light to other people as well, saying like, hey, it's okay to share these things that we're going through. It's okay to be vulnerable, right? Because we're all human at the end of the day, right? Yeah. It's a matter of like, are we going to admit that we're struggling or not, right? Because everyone's going through it. It's just a matter of not a blemish. It's a beauty.
Right. You said some really key points. So when you were mentioning the idea of there's this mentality of pushing forward and pushing harder, and then there's this idea of openness to share the struggle and be seen and be heard and show up with your vulnerability. And when you talked about acceptance, I was thinking of the notion of like a mental beauty being this idea of acceptance, invitation and acceptance, right? So you mentioned opportunity to share it. It's almost like you're claiming it, right? Like you're claiming that this is who I am and admitting to vulnerability, being okay. So there's a lot of permission, which I really thought was really cool, actually. It's a great perspective, and the enthusiasm that you bring with it is quite rich. Yeah.
I mean, like I wasn't always this way. I'd say like for a while, I would definitely hide a lot of that aspect of me, but I definitely learned to grow and be more comfortable being more authentic.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Ethan Fung, for sharing such an authentic message. In his episode, Ethan talks about breaking free from the mindset of constantly pushing forward and trying harder without acknowledging struggles. He challenges the idea of mental health stigma and the notion that we should always present a perfect facade. Ethan's mental beauty rethink is about accepting vulnerability and struggle rather than shoving it aside. It's about confidently sharing who we are and what we're going through. He gives us permission to be vulnerable with each other, reminding us that we're all human and we're all going through something. I appreciate his openness to share his struggles and show up with his whole self. This perspective of acceptance and invitation is truly liberating and aligns perfectly with our mental beauty concept. If you haven't already, I encourage you to go back and listen to his full episode. His words about embracing vulnerability and authenticity are incredibly freeing. But don't go anywhere just yet. Stay with me for a moment as I have some important insights to share with you first. And then you can hop off and listen to his full episode. Let's explore how Ethan's experiences align with the mental beauty rethink concept and dive deeper into his journey. Ethan's story is a powerful example of taking charge of one's mental health. He shared how he hit rock bottom and realized a change needed to happen. Growing up in an Asian household as the eldest sibling, he was the obedient child, always trying to please his parents and show them respect. This led to a mindset where he believed that success meant pleasing others and doing what was asked of him. However, this survival mode could only take him so far before he burned out, feeling bitter and resentful. Even when his gut instinct told him otherwise, he would push aside his own feelings to do what others thought was correct or helpful. He tied his self-worth to other people's perspectives, needing external validation to define his worth. Through therapy and internal examination, Ethan began to work through his cognitive dissonance. He faced the challenge of advocating for himself, which felt incredibly difficult at first. The journey of entrepreneurship became a catalyst for standing up for himself and prioritizing his own needs. Now, Ethan has chosen to embrace his full, authentic self. He's comfortable with who he is, even if some people don't like it. This complete transformation embodies the mental beauty rethink concept. It's about accepting all parts of ourselves, including our struggles, and finding the courage to show up authentically in the world. This journey of self-acceptance and self-worth is at the heart of mental beauty. It's about recognizing that our value doesn't come from external validation or perfectionism, but from embracing our whole selves, imperfections and all. I want to share a story with you about one of my clients who comes to mind that was also dealing with the struggle to own all of his parts. But before I share about that, I want to help you understand what that means, owning all of your parts. It is often used in the mental health space, but not always explained well. So what does it mean, owning all parts of yourself? To me, owning all parts of yourself means coming to terms with accepting yourself as you are, not as you should be based on perfectionistic tendencies or based on expectations of others. It means to accept your strengths and your growing edges and live without regret, unapologetically, fully embracing all your imperfections. It means to truly embrace all parts of you without self-judgment. And when you truly own all parts of you, it makes all the difference how others will perceive you too, and how you choose to interact with the world. So don't be afraid to own yourself and to show up just as you are, no matter how different you think you are or how you may have been treated by others in the past. Regardless of circumstance, this is what it means to own all parts of yourself, because you are choosing yourself fully, wholly, and completely. And that is mental beauty in a nutshell. Now that you've heard Ethan's mental beauty rethink and are clearer on what it means to own all parts of yourself, I'd like to share a powerful breakthrough story from one of my clients who we'll call Mark. When Mark first came to therapy, he was deeply embedded in the belief that his self-worth was defined by other people's perspectives of him. This constant need for external validation left him in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety, always second-guessing his actions and choices. He was afraid to show his true self, in fact, not even really knowing what his true self was all about, fearing rejection and disapproval. Through our sessions, Mark began to unpack these deeply rooted core beliefs, understanding how they were holding him back from living an authentic and fulfilling life. As Mark took charge of his mental health, he gradually learned to own all parts of himself, embracing his strengths and imperfections alike. We worked through a dare to heal process of getting comfortably uncomfortable while allowing himself to show up perfectly imperfect. He started to see that his worth was intrinsic, not something to be dictated by others' opinions, beliefs, or perceptions. This newfound self-acceptance allowed Mark to show up fully as himself without the crippling fear of not being liked. He began to make choices that aligned with his true values and desires, rather than what he thought others wanted from him. Now, Mark feels empowered and authentic, comfortable with who he is, in his own skin, and at peace with the fact that not everyone may resonate with his true self. This transformation beautifully illustrates the concept of mental beauty, embracing all aspects of oneself and finding strength in vulnerability. I hear you saying to yourself, Salima, that is awesome for Mark and Ethan, but I want to know how I can take charge too. Awesome sauce, because that is just what we're going to do now. Now let's take a look at some practical tips that can help you embrace your own mental beauty. So today, here are 3 practical mental beauty tips inspired by today's discussion. The first, practice self-compassion. Start by being kind and understanding to yourself, especially during times of failure or difficulty. Recognize that everyone has flaws and makes mistakes. It's part of being human. Practicing self-compassion involves speaking to yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you would offer a friend. This helps build a positive self-image and fosters a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external validation. The next tip is identify and challenge negative self-talk. Pay attention to the internal dialogue that shapes your self-perception. When you catch yourself thinking negatively about your abilities or worth, challenge these thoughts. Ask yourself if there's evidence to support them or if they're based on assumptions and insecurities. Replace negative self-talk with affirmations and positive statements about your strengths and accomplishments. Over time, this shift in mindset can significantly improve how you view yourself. The last tip for today is set boundaries and prioritize self-care. Learn to set healthy boundaries with others to protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. This means saying no to things that don't serve your best interests and surrounding yourself with supportive, uplifting people. Additionally, prioritize self-care by engaging in activities that nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Regularly doing things that make you feel good and fulfilled reinforces the idea that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness, both by yourself and others. It's quite essential to remind yourself to always choose yourself first and remember that your worth is defined by you and no one else, ever. Bring these concepts to your awareness so that you can pay attention to the subtleties of your experience and use these as signals to pivot in a direction that always serves you well. I'd love to hear how you implemented these tips and what impact it had on you. Share your experiences in the comments. Let's take a moment to reflect on today's session. As we wrap up today's episode, let's move into our closing reflection where I'll share a special tool that I know will help you integrate today's learnings into your own mental beauty practice. A simple way to boost self-love and self-worth with a morning mirror exercise is to practice positive affirmations while making eye contact with yourself. Here's how you can do it. Stand in front of the mirror, any mirror. Start by finding a quiet, private space where you can stand in front of a mirror. Look into your own eyes, taking a moment to connect with yourself. Then, recite positive affirmations. Say 3 to 5 positive affirmations out loud. These should be statements that affirm your worth and capabilities. Here are some samples. I am worthy of love and respect. I am confident and capable. I am perfectly imperfect. I deserve happiness and success. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And while you do this, use your name. Personalize the affirmations by using your name at the start of each affirmation. This makes the exercise feel more direct and impactful. And while you're doing this, smile and breathe. Smile at yourself and take a few deep breaths between affirmations. This helps to reinforce the positive messages and create a grounding, calming, affirming ritual. And be sure to feel the words. As you say each affirmation, try to truly feel and believe the words you are speaking. Remember, it will take practice, but over time, it can help shift your mindset and strengthen your self-worth and self-love. By incorporating this simple mirror exercise into your morning routine, you can start your day with a boost of positivity and self-affirmation, setting a strong foundation for the day ahead. Now, doesn't that feel so awesome and fantastic? Thank you all for being here, for supporting this podcast, and for being your unique, awesome selves. I'm excited about the amazing things we have on the horizon. Stay in the know about our upcoming events just for you, including our spring and late summer retreats and our webinars and digital supports on our website at daretoheal.co, or go to bit.ly/join the Dare to Heal community to sign up for our Dare to Hear newsletter and become part of our community of mental beauty focused peeps. Plus, gain more tips and juicy insights just like you enjoyed today, delivered directly to your inbox. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are beautiful, and your mental health matters. Now, before you go, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to check out episode 77 for more insights from Ethan Fung on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So now you can kick your feet back and hit play to give this episode a listen. Please recommend these episodes to your friends or loved ones, and let's spread the message of mental beauty. P.S. My lovely mental beauty listeners, I still dare you to share the podcast with anyone who could benefit from these insights. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe, leave a review, share something amazing you want me to give a shout out for on your behalf. Just send an email to mentalbeautycommunity@gmail.com. Share your desire to share your untold story as a guest. All you have to do is visit daretoshare.co, scroll down to where it says submit your story, and select submit now. And share today's mental beauty tip with a friend or a loved one. Spread mental beauty, stop the stigma. All right. Once again, thank you for being part of the Dare to Share Your Untold Story podcast, mental beauty segments, and embracing the uniqueness of the mental beauty rethink, which allows us all to have a voice in breaking down the barriers of mental stigma.